I feel thin, sort of stretched, like butter scraped over too much bread. Is one of my favorite quotes from Lord of the Rings, Bilbo Baggins. Yes, I'm an LOTR geek, but it's a great quote because I feel like a lot of us feel this sometimes when we work in marketing, especially B2B SaaS marketing. There are so many priorities. There are so many channels that we have to master and trying to do so many different things. And I'm going to talk about that today, like how we feel and maybe what are some alternatives from that. All right, let's dive into it.
SaaS CMO Pro.
Hey folks, Bill Masitis here, former CMO CRO at Slack. Before that, I was CMO at Zendesk. And before that, SVP of marketing at Salesforce. I had about 30 years of online marketing in my career. And I'm kind of excited to talk about, hey, this feeling of being overwhelmed.
Overwhelming, isn't it?
In my current role, I serve as advisor and board member for a lot of different startups. And so I'm constantly talking with different CMOs. And a common theme you will hear for really like any CMO out there, a lot of marketers, it's just sometimes they just feel overwhelmed. There are so many channels that you can do in marketing that you end up getting stretched and pulled. And you have so many people reaching out to you that they need help with this sales need in this region needs help here, and products are doing this new launch. And there's just a lot of different things that are happening to you. And so I'm going to talk about some of the strategies I use to try to deal with that. The first one, and I think this can apply to a lot of marketing teams, is just get good at a couple channels, like whatever those channels are. So marketing, we have such a diverse, palette of paints to choose from. We have, PR, analyst relations, we have events, we have content marketing, SEO, inbound, word of mouth, experiential. We can go on the paid side and get really good at like offline or podcasts or YouTube sponsorships. There is no limit to, what you can do in marketing.
To infinity and beyond.
And that is both amazing and also overwhelming at the same time. And what I tried to do was say like, hey, let's focus in on a couple and get really good at that, as opposed to trying to do everything. Because I had for a while tried to do everything and it's hard, right? You end up with you're doing a lot of stuff, but you're not doing everything, you're doing it just kind of well. And so I'm a big fan now of like, hey, when you build your team, one, think of yourself, like what are your super strengths? What are you really great at? But also when you hire your team, you're going to find that you just have some natural strengths within those teams. So for example, when I was part of Zendesk, we had hired, and there were a couple people there that were just great at video. Like they were really good at making their own videos, and we tapped into that. We said, hey, at a time where most B2B companies weren't really leveraging video, we did it for everything. We did it for our demos. We did it for our employee hire. We did it for some of our ad campaigns. We did it for launch videos. And it was great because we had such a talented team there. I always call this like the 7'6" center, right? Like if you've got Shaquille O'Neal and you're playing basketball, a good strategy is to feed him the ball. Let him go to work. If you have Steph Curry, you're probably going to change that. You're going to want to run a lot different offense, to feed Kerr so he can leverage that 3-point shot. And so, kind of look at your own team, right? Like where do you have superstars that are just not just good, but like incredible, relative to their peers, and lean into that. That could be someone that just loves podcasts and wants to, knows the space, knows this so well. And maybe you lean in and you start doing advertising on podcasts and you see it works and you lean in more and more and more. And this, I think, happens naturally for a lot of B2B SaaS organizations. Is even from a go-to-market perspective, they'll kind of lean into something that's working, right? And for some people, they've mastered SDRs and they just keep hiring more and more and more. Maybe they're great at outbound, and someone will be great at inbound marketing, right? And they're awesome at creating content and, leveraging SEO and using different social channels, right? Or some are awesome at events and they've just, they know it inside and out. They know how to get the best efficiency from it, and you'll build that event strategy. And that's fine. I just say like, just choose one. So that's one thing, a strategy that I've used in the past to try to, maintain that focus, is just choose a couple. You don't want to be like the butter stretched over too much bread. The other one I think that's important too is just for you as a marketing leader to make sure you ensure that focus with your team. So I don't know about you guys, but I've definitely been there in life where I've worked with a lot of managers, a lot of bosses over the years. Some of it amazing. Some would come to me and be like, Bill, this is important. You need to do this. Oh, Bill, this is important. You need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. And they would just give me like a list of 30 priorities that were all relatively the same. They were all important. And I found like the managers I love working for were ones that would come to me and go, Bill, here are the top 3 priorities to work on for this year. And by the way, they're stack ranked. 1 is more important than 2, which is more important than 3. Mark Benioff, CEO at Salesforce, was incredible with this. I think he really understood opportunity costs. He really understood getting everyone to focus on what's important. And he kind of understood too that just throughout the course of the year, you're just going to get all these requests that come in, right? Especially within marketing. Right? Because we just have all these folks externally in the organization that want us to do things to help their team out, whether that's internal, like the recruiters want to have this amazing, recruiting website and they want to have all these testimonials and they want to have videos, or whether you're sales or just whatever it is, right? You're going to have a lot of requests come in. So I love that methodology. We use the V2 MOM, which is Vision, Values, Methods, Obstacles, Metrics. You can look it up online, Salesforce V2, V the number 2, and then MOM. But that really helped us out. I'll do a separate video on that. I thought it was super cool. But the idea behind it is you would say, hey, whether it's 3, 5, 10, whatever it is for the beginning of the year, you write down your priorities in stack ranked order. And then if it was below the line, you didn't do it. And so what works really well there too is a lot of times as marketers, CMOs, you're going to get all these asks that come in throughout the year from your CEO, from your head of sales, from whoever, right? And what I would do is I would just go, okay, here's our list, 1 through 10, 1 through 5, whatever your capacity is. And then you just say, hey, okay, well, which one should come out, right? Like, I agree. Like maybe it is like, hey, I agree with you. We should do this. Which one should come out? Or where would you slot this, right? And in some ways, if you're stack ranking them, let's say you have a top 5 list and you agree this should be number 2, well, then whatever was number 5 is below the line. You can't do it. Now, for those that were like, hey, we want to do everything, then I would just turn around and be like, okay, in order to increase that capacity line, in order to go from top 5 priorities, and you size them out. We use t-shirt sizing, right? Like large, small, extra large. All right, I need this many heads or this much program budget to, expand that line. Right? So we can do these additional things. And so I felt that was a great way also to help with focus, for your team, was to articulate what these top priorities are so that they know that they need to focus on these things. Tell them like, hey, if it's under the line, don't do it, right? Or come to me, or tell the person that asked for it to come to me, right? And I'll have that conversation with them. And then again, like, sometimes marketing teams, they're right sized, usually you'll be about 5 or 10% of the total company size. But sometimes I've worked with, companies where they're like 1% of the company size. And like they need more resources. And so that's a really good strategy too. If you feel you need to get resources, as opposed to just accepting every request that comes in, ask for it. Just go like, hey, I could do this, but it's beneath the capacity line. This is what I would spec out how many new heads we would need for this, or how much program budget. Maybe you're outsourcing this and you're using agencies. That's fine too. But, think about that though, like how you can, position it from a resourcing perspective. So anyways, those are a couple strategies I use to try to focus in. I'd be curious to hear from you guys. What are some of your best strategies to achieve that focus, to not be overwhelmed, to not feel like that 4 piece of butter spread over too much bread? All right. Thanks for joining, guys.